I've always had an inexplicable fear of driving at night, especially on lonely, desolate roads. My mind conjures up all sorts of terrifying scenarios, ghostly apparitions wandering aimlessly, shadowy figures lurking in the darkness, or worse, something inexplicable and unimaginable. One fateful evening, I found myself on one such road. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a haunting twilight that gave way to an impenetrable darkness. I was returning home after a long day, the exhaustion weighing heavily on my shoulders. The road stretched out endlessly before me, flanked by dense woods that seemed to press in from both sides. The only company I had was the rhythmic hum of the engine and the soft glow of the headlights cutting through the obsidian night. As the minutes passed, a sense of unease crept over me, like invisible fingers tracing icy patterns down my spine. It wasn't just the typical discomfort of driving in the dark, there was something different about this night, something sinister that lingered in the air. My phone lay silent in the cup holder, devoid of any signal. The GPS stubbornly refused to provide guidance, leaving me alone with the bleak road and my growing apprehension. With each passing mile, the feeling of isolation intensified, the silence becoming suffocating. Suddenly, a movement in the peripheral vision of my headlights caught my attention. I slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching against the asphalt. My heart thundered in my chest as I strained to see what had caused the disturbance. There, at the edge of the woods, stood a figure, a silhouette barely visible in the dim glow of my headlights. It was unnaturally still, a solitary specter in the sea of darkness. I sat frozen, my breath hitching in my throat. What was someone doing out here in the middle of nowhere? Should I offer help? But a chilling intuition prickled at the back of my mind, warning me of impending danger. A cold shiver ran down my spine as the figure slowly raised an arm, pointing a finger in the direction I was heading. Panic surged through me, and without a second thought, I hit the gas, speeding away from that haunting apparition. The road seemed to stretch on forever, a never-ending ribbon of uncertainty and dread. The encounter with the mysterious figure lingered in my mind, festering like a splinter, impossible to ignore. Then, without warning, my headlights flickered and died, plunging me into pitch darkness. Panic clawed at my chest as I struggled to regain control of the car. I fumbled for my phone, using its feeble light to navigate to the side of the road. The engine sputtered and died, leaving me in complete silence and darkness. Fear clenched at my heart, the isolation of the desolate road becoming all-encompassing. Alone in the oppressive darkness, I felt a primal fear claw at the edges of my sanity. My surroundings seemed to pulsate with an eerie energy, an unsettling quietness that whispered of hidden dangers lurking just beyond the reach of my senses. I stepped out of the car, the air thick with an inexplicable tension that made my skin prickle. My phone's weak glow barely illuminated the immediate area, casting long, eerie shadows that danced across the deserted road. I popped the hood, hoping for some simple mechanical issue that could be fixed. My hands trembled as I checked the engine. But to my dismay, everything appeared intact. Panic threatened to overwhelm me. Stranded in the middle of nowhere with no help in sight, my gaze shifted uneasily to the dense woods that bordered the road. Trees stood like sentinels, their branches swaying in an otherworldly rhythm, whispering secrets lost to human understanding. I hesitated, a feeling of foreboding settling in the pit of my stomach. Something felt inherently wrong about those woods, as if they harbored ancient secrets and malevolent forces that no mortal should encounter. But time was slipping away, and I had to find help. With trepidation, I took hesitant steps towards the edge of the forest. The trees seemed to lean closer, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, urging me to turn back. As I ventured deeper into the woods, the oppressive silence gave way to faint, distant whispers that echoed in the darkness. I shivered, my nerves on edge, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. The undergrowth crunched underfoot, and an overwhelming sensation of being watched sent a chill down my spine. Shadows danced around me, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to mock my presence. I stumbled upon an old, weathered path hidden amidst the foliage, a narrow, winding trail that snaked deeper into the heart of the woods. Against my better judgment, I followed it, driven by desperation and the faint hope of finding help or civilization. the further I delved into the woods, the more the atmosphere shifted, a palpable malevolence hung heavy in the air. The whispers grew louder, indistinguishable words mingling with a cacophony of eerie sounds that echoed through the trees. Suddenly, the path opened up into a small clearing, bathed in an ethereal glow that seemed to emanate from a gnarled tree at its center. Symbols etched into the bark pulsed with an otherworldly light, casting bizarre patterns on the ground. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The air crackled with an unnatural energy, and a sense of dread coiled around me like a vice. A voice, a guttural, otherworldly voice, seemed to emanate from the very fabric of the woods, speaking in a language that sent chills down my spine. Before I could react, shadows detached themselves from the trees, coalescing into shadowy figures that encircled the clearing. Their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, fixated on me with an intensity that paralyzed me with fear. A surge of primal terror coursed through my veins, and I turned to flee, only to find my path blocked by more shadowy entities. Panic overwhelmed rational thought as I realized there was no escape. Trapped within the sinister embrace of the haunted woods, I stood paralyzed, surrounded by shadowy entities that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly malevolence. Their eyes bore into me, penetrating my very soul with a chilling intensity. A bone-chilling wind swept through the clearing, carrying with it whispers that twisted and writhed around me like serpents. I tried to move, to break free from the invisible bonds that held me captive, but it was as if the very air had turned solid. Imprisoning me in its suffocating grip, the gnarled tree at the center of the clearing seemed to hum with an ancient power, its unearthly glow intensifying with each passing moment. Symbols etched into its bark pulsed in an arcane rhythm, casting eerie shadows that danced across the ground. The guttural voice reverberated through the clearing, resonating within the confines of my mind. Words that I couldn't comprehend echoed relentlessly, stirring a primal fear deep within me. Desperation clawed at my senses as I pleaded for release, but the entities remained unmoved, their ethereal forms shimmering like specters in the darkness. Then, a searing pain tore through my head, a piercing agony that felt like tendrils probing the darkest corners of my thoughts. Memories flashed before my eyes, fragmented images, half-forgotten nightmares, and moments of inexplicable terror. I fought against the intrusion, resisting the relentless assault on my mind. But as I struggled, a voice, a familiar voice, whispered through the chaos, a beacon of clarity in the maelstrom of confusion. Stay strong. You're not alone. With renewed determination, I focused on the voice, a lifeline amidst the chaos. The pain subsided, and a surge of defiance replaced the fear that had threatened to consume me. Summoning every ounce of willpower, I closed my eyes and began to recite a chant, a mantra passed down through generations in tales of ancient protection. The words felt alien on my tongue, yet they resonated with a primal power that seemed to repel the malevolent forces surrounding me. A cacophony of shrieks and wails erupted from the shadowy entities, their ethereal forms writhing in agony as if the mere utterance of the ancient words inflicted unimaginable torment upon them. The symbols etched into the tree's bark glowed brighter, pulsating with a frenetic energy that mirrored the chaos engulfing the clearing. The ground quaked beneath my feet, and a blinding light erupted from the symbols. Engulfing everything in its incandescent embrace, a deafening roar echoed through the woods, and I felt myself being torn from the grasp of the malevolent entities. Light and darkness clashed in a cataclysmic battle, and I spiraled into an abyss of oblivion. When consciousness returned, I found myself lying on the side of the road, my body trembling and drenched in a cold sweat. The headlights of my car illuminated the desolate surroundings, the night seemingly devoid of any supernatural presence. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone, and to my disbelief, I had a signal. Shaken to the core, I dialed for help, unable to comprehend the inexplicable horrors I had just experienced. As the distant sound of approaching sirens filled the night, I cast a wary glance towards the dark woods, a lingering dread coiling in the pit of my stomach. The memory of that harrowing encounter would forever haunt my nightmares, a reminder of the unfathomable terrors that lurk in the shadows beyond our understanding. I silently vowed never to venture down that desolate road again, knowing that some secrets are best left undisturbed, hidden within the darkness that shrouds the unknown. The authorities arrived, their questions met with a hollow silence as I struggled to articulate the inexplicable events that had transpired. In the end, they chalked it up to exhaustion and a vivid imagination, a convenient explanation for the unexplainable, but deep within me, a chilling certainty lingered. That night, I had glimpsed into a realm far beyond the boundaries of our reality, where malevolent forces lurk, waiting for unsuspecting souls to wander into their domain, and as I drove away from that accursed road, the echoes of whispered voices and the haunting glow of the gnarled tree lingered in the recesses of my mind, a constant reminder of the horrors that awaited those who dared to tread the nightmare highway.